Everything you think is real is actually reacting to you. That's not a metaphor. It's not spiritual fluff or law of attraction talk. It's the quantum truth you were never told. From the moment you wake up, the world around you is shifting in response to your internal state, your emotions, your focus, your energy. But most people go their entire lives thinking they're just reacting to external events, as if life is some fixed script already written. It isn't. Reality is responsive. It's built on probabilities, not certainties. And the energy you carry into every moment nudges those probabilities, subtly, invisibly, but powerfully. This isn't about manifesting cars and cash with vision boards. It's about understanding that your energy field is a literal blueprint, a code that reality reads in real time. When you learn how to master that code, you stop playing the game and start shaping it. This is how you manipulate energy to create quantum events, without the BS. Most people go through life trying to control the external. They chase outcomes, rearrange circumstances, and obsess over strategy. But here's the secret. The external is just the aftershock. It's the echo. The real shift happens in the invisible space, your energy field. That's where reality is first written. Not on a calendar, not on a to-do list, not in some business plan, but in the energetic frequency you broadcast every moment you're alive. Everything in this universe is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. That's not New Age talk, it's physics. But what we were never taught is that your personal energy isn't just a side effect of your mood or health. It's a signal, a transmission. You're constantly sending out data into the quantum field, and the field sends something back. That something is what you call life. Every outcome, every twist of fate, every coincidence, it's all just feedback. When your energy is fractured, when you're holding anxiety, doubt, guilt, or shame, you distort the field around you. You send mixed signals, and reality reflects that confusion. It's why you'll take 5 steps forward and somehow end up 10 steps back. It's not because you're lazy or unlucky. It's because you were misaligned. You were broadcasting noise instead of signal. But the moment you bring clarity to your energy, life starts making sense. People show up, opportunities land, the path clears. What most don't realize is that energy is programmable. Your focus, your emotional state, your intention, they're like code. Think of it this way. If you were a frequency, what kind of song would reality be dancing to right now? Calm, scattered, desperate, powerful. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. That's the real law behind manifestation. Not wishful thinking, not forced positivity, but resonance. This is why 2 people can walk into the same situation and experience totally different realities. Same world, same room, completely different outcomes, because their frequencies are not the same. One walks in grounded, coherent, clear, and the room bends. The other walks in anxious, fragmented, doubtful, and gets nothing back. Reality doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to dominion. Not control over others, but control over yourself. Control over your internal signal. And here's where it gets deeper. Your nervous system is an antenna. Your heart emits an electromagnetic field measurable several feet outside your body. Your brain waves fluctuate based on your attention. These aren't mystical ideas, they're measurable phenomena. And yet no one teaches you how to use them. No one tells you that your emotional state is like tuning a dial to a different reality. Stay on one frequency long enough, and the world around you starts to match it. Not out of magic, but because you've become magnetically compatible with a new timeline. Some of what we're about to get into, especially how consciousness interacts with probability, is too sensitive for platforms like this. Join our free newsletter, Insights Academy, through the link below, and get instant access to a deeper breakdown, plus a free digital copy of the Kybalion for a limited time. This isn't about faking a high vibe. It's about energetic honesty, owning where you are and then shifting it with precision. Energy doesn't lie, and reality doesn't negotiate. You're either in coherence or you're not. You're either emitting a stable signal or you're reacting to static. And the wild part? You've felt this before. That moment when everything clicked. When you didn't chase, things flowed. You weren't grasping, and yet everything arrived. That wasn't luck. That was alignment. That was you, briefly, tuning into the frequency where what you wanted already existed. You're not here to hustle your way into alignment. You're here to remember that reality is listening to you all the time. The only question is, what are you saying when you're not speaking? We've been taught to believe that life is something we look at, something we measure, something we respond to, but quantum physics flipped that idea on its head a long time ago. It told us something unsettling, something most people still don't fully grasp. The act of observing something changes it, not metaphorically, literally. When a particle is unobserved, it exists in a state of potential. It's everywhere and nowhere at once, a cloud of probabilities. But the moment someone looks, the moment attention is applied, that particle snaps into place. It chooses a position. It becomes something definite. And the observer, the one watching, is the reason why. Now stretch that idea into your life. Every time you look at your reality with fear, with expectation, with hope, with judgment, you're collapsing probabilities. Your attention is not passive. It's a sculptor. You are not just experiencing reality. You are creating it by the way you look at it. And more importantly, by the energy behind the looking. This is where it stops being abstract and starts getting personal. Because what you expect becomes a blueprint, not because of superstition, but because of energetic physics. If you walk into a situation already believing you'll be rejected, you unconsciously collapse the reality where rejection is more likely. If you move through the world carrying the vibration of, "I never get what I want," the field hears you. It feels the signal. It doesn't argue, it just aligns. It's not emotional, it's mathematical. Your energy sets the range of outcomes available to you, not because you're being punished or tested, but because the field is reactive. It responds. And here's the thing most people miss. Your conscious mind might want change, but your subconscious beliefs often direct the lens. If deep down you believe you're not worthy, not ready, not capable, then that's the energy you're projecting, even if your mouth is saying affirmations. That's the observer effect in your life. Your frequency is observing the field with a bias, and that bias is creating the version of reality you get to experience. The universe doesn't deliver what you want. It reflects what you expect. And expectations are rooted in identity. You might be saying, "I want freedom," but are you expecting struggle? Are you looking at the world through the lens of past pain? Because your past experience, if not healed, becomes the lens through which you observe every new opportunity. That lens bends reality before you even engage with it. But here's where the power kicks in. You can change the lens, you can shift the frequency, you can train yourself to hold a new state long enough and consistently enough that the field starts responding differently. You don't need to force outcomes when you become a match for them. People talk about attracting things, but it's not about pulling something toward you. It's about aligning with what's already been waiting in a different energetic pocket. You can't fake this. You can't trick the field. It knows the difference between surface optimism and embodied belief. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be congruent. When your energy, your focus, and your internal dialogue are all saying the same thing, that's when things shift. That's when you stop reacting to life and start shaping it. Not through hustle, not through effort, but through state. And the most radical part of all, you've already done it hundreds of times. You've had those moments when everything aligned, when the right person called, when the opportunity appeared, when the answer arrived before you asked the question. You didn't make it happen. You matched it. You became the observer who was no longer doubting but trusting, no longer resisting but allowing, and reality moved. That wasn't a chance. That was physics, and you were the force behind it. You felt it before, that eerie sense that something beyond coincidence is unfolding. You think about someone, and they message you. You follow a hunch, and it leads to a door you didn't know existed. You change something within, and without even speaking it aloud, your environment rearranges. These moments don't come from magic. They come from resonance, from entanglement, from a deeper layer of reality that science is only just beginning to describe, but that you've already experienced over and over again. Quantum entanglement is one of the most mind-bending truths we know. Two particles, once connected, remain linked regardless of distance. Change the state of one, and the other responds instantly. Space and time don't apply. It's as if, on some level, separation is an illusion. But what's rarely discussed is how this idea doesn't stop with particles. It extends to people, to moments, to timelines, and to you. When you shift something internally, when you raise your frequency, dissolve an old belief, heal a piece of emotional weight, you're not just changing your inner world, you're changing the field around you. You are entangled with every version of yourself that could ever be, and each of those versions lives on a different timeline. Most people drift from one version to the next, unconsciously, based on fear, routine, or unresolved trauma. But when you shift your energy consciously, you jump tracks. You exit one loop and step into another. And in that shift, you begin to interact with a version of reality that matches your new signal. This is why synchronicities seem to multiply during periods of growth. They're not random, they're feedback. They're signs that the field has picked up your new frequency and is starting to reflect it back to you. You didn't manifest the call, the meeting, the unexpected twist. You magnetized it through resonance. It was already there, entangled with your higher potential, just waiting for you to rise into alignment with it. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Synchronicities work both ways. If you're stuck in anxiety, in low self-worth, in lack, the field responds to that too. It's not punishing you, it's mirroring you. Ever notice how when you're in a bad place, things seem to compound? One frustration leads to another. The wrong people show up. The day spirals. That's not bad luck. That's energetic entanglement in action. You're tuned to a certain frequency, and the field matches it. Not emotionally, but mathematically. You are constantly entangled with versions of your life you haven't met yet. Some are miraculous. Some are stagnant. The version you meet depends on your state, and you can't fake your way into the higher ones. You have to become them. You have to embody the emotions, the clarity, the trust that would exist if you were already living in that version of your timeline. Because once you shift inside, everything outside responds, not always instantly, but inevitably. Think about those moments when you were fully in flow, when you felt light, aligned, clear. The people, the resources, the timing, it all just worked. That wasn't a coincidence. That was precision. That was a glimpse into what life looks like when you're operating as an energetic match to the reality you were born to live in. And the best part? Synchronicity is not reserved for the rare few. It's not the universe playing favorites. It's the law. It's mechanics. And it responds to all of us equally. The question is, are you broadcasting noise or are you broadcasting signal? Because the moment you align with clarity, the moment you shed the weight and step into coherence, the field responds. Not with fireworks, not with drama, but with a quiet, undeniable, unstoppable shift. Most people think reality is reacting to their actions, their hustle, their decisions, their words. But that's only part of the picture, and not the most powerful part. The deeper truth is this: reality mirrors your internal state. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, always. The world doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are being. And who you are being is determined by your dominant frequency, your energy, your emotional tone, your self-concept. If your life feels chaotic, uncertain, or stuck, it's not because the universe is against you. It's because the signal you're sending out is confused. You're moving, acting, pushing, but underneath, there's doubt, fear, unworthiness. You're saying, I want success, but broadcasting, I don't believe I'm ready. You're saying, I want love, but vibrating, I'm afraid to be seen. And reality mirrors that. Not because it's judging you, but because it's exact. This universe is built on resonance. You get what you are, not what you wish for. It's a brutal truth at first, because it means you have to stop blaming the world, stop blaming timing, stop blaming others. But it's also liberating, because it puts the power back in your hands. If your reality is a mirror, you don't need to change the reflection, you need to change the source. And that source is always internal. This is why trying to manipulate outcomes through control usually backfires. You're pulling strings externally, but the core signal hasn't changed. So the field resists. It bends, but not fully. It gives you crumbs, not the meal. That's why effort without alignment feels exhausting. You're trying to bend reality with willpower instead of resonance. But when the signal is clean, when your energy and intention are aligned, effort becomes efficient. You do less and get more. Because the field isn't resisting, you're in tune. One of the most overlooked parts of this is emotional hygiene. People obsess over productivity and performance, but neglect the most important part of their day, their internal calibration. You can't create coherence in the world if you're holding internal chaos. And most people are. Carrying resentments from last week, fears from childhood, stories from other people. Every unresolved piece of emotional baggage is a distortion in your frequency. It creates static, and static blocks signal. Cleaning up your energy doesn't mean faking positivity. It means being honest, sitting with what's there, letting go of what's not yours, and choosing deliberately how you want to feel before the world gives you a reason. That's real power. When you no longer wait for the outside to shift how you feel inside. You flip the script. You generate the emotion first. You hold the state. And then reality catches up. You've probably had glimpses of this. Days when everything just worked. You were light, grateful, calm, and life responded in kind. Not because you did anything different, but because you were different. You didn't micromanage. You didn't grip tightly. You moved from clarity, and clarity is magnetic. This feedback loop is always running. Every interaction is a mirror. Every outcome is a response. And the key is to stop reacting and start responding internally. When something outside triggers you, don't chase the trigger. Ask what it's showing you about your own field. Is it asking you to align, to release, to step up? Because if you ignore the lesson, the loop continues. But if you shift the pattern, the external world updates, sometimes slowly, sometimes in an instant, but always with precision. Reality doesn't need to be convinced. It just needs to be matched. You don't fight for alignment. You become it. You let the field do the rest. Before you ever had the chance to consciously shape your reality, someone else started shaping it for you. You were born with a pure, open frequency, intuitive, curious, free. But it didn't take long before that signal was interrupted. The world taught you to fall in line. Be realistic. Don't ask too many questions. It told you that success comes from hard work, that worth comes from approval, and that safety comes from staying small. And without knowing it, you absorbed it. Not just in your mind, but in your body, your energy, your subconscious. The default script was installed early. And that script is still running in the background of most people's lives. It's not just shaping what you believe, it's shaping what you broadcast. It's why you can work hard and still feel stuck. Why you can set goals and somehow sabotage them. It's not that you're broken, it's that you've been wired to live reactively, not creatively. Most people are unconsciously generating a life they don't want, based on frequencies they didn't choose. This isn't your fault. You were conditioned. From school systems that rewarded memorization over imagination, to social systems that praised obedience over intuition, you were trained to fit in, not to stand out. You were taught to follow the program. But the program doesn't serve you, it serves the system. It's built to keep you predictable, compliant, easy to manage. Not because you're evil or lazy or unworthy, but because that's how the machine sustains itself. And as long as you're following that default script, your energy is tangled in someone else's narrative. Here's the kicker. The quantum field doesn't care where the signal comes from. Whether you're projecting a belief because it's truly yours, or because it was inherited, the result is the same. The field reflects it. And so, if your energy is still coded with old fear, unresolved trauma, outdated beliefs about who you are or what's possible, then the field will faithfully recreate situations to match. You'll find yourself looping, different faces, same patterns, different places, same feeling, until you interrupt it. Awareness is the crack in the system. The moment you begin to notice the script is the moment you begin to rewrite it. And the most powerful way to do that isn't just mental, it's energetic. You shift your frequency, and the entire operating system starts to break apart. You stop feeding the loop. You start generating from a new place. But make no mistake, this part can feel messy. The ego hates rewiring. The body resists change. Everything in you will want to return to the known, even if the known is what's been limiting you. This is why energy work isn't optional. It's essential. You can't override the program by thinking alone. You have to embody something new. You have to teach your nervous system what it feels like to be free, to be powerful, to be safe in your own truth. And then you have to stay in that state long enough for the field to recalibrate around you. This isn't about grinding harder. It's about holding the new frequency while the old one tries to pull you back. That's the real test. Can you stay aligned when nothing around you reflects it yet? Can you keep choosing the upgraded version of yourself before the world confirms it? Because here's what most people don't realize. The field doesn't lead, you do. It follows your energy, not your intentions, not your words, your energy. And when your energy shifts from victimhood to authorship, from doubt to embodiment, everything starts to move. The right people enter. The right paths unfold. What once felt impossible suddenly becomes obvious. But it only happens when you stop living from the script they gave you and start living from the signal you were born to send. You don't need fixing. You need deprogramming. And once the old code is gone, there's nothing left between you and the reality you were always meant to create. You've been taught to speak with words, to communicate through sentences and sound. But the universe doesn't listen to words, it listens to energy. And if you want to shape reality at a quantum level, you have to start speaking the language it understands. Not just with intention, but with state. Because state is your true voice. It's not what you say. It's who you are while you say it. That's what the field responds to. That's what the quantum fabric of existence reads. And right now, it's listening. Your thoughts matter, but only to the extent that they shape your emotional frequency. A thought is like a spark, but emotion gives it weight. It gives it depth. If you're thinking abundance while feeling unworthy, the field will tune into the louder signal. And it's always the emotional one. That's why so many people struggle with manifestation. They focus on affirmations, rituals, and mental clarity, but their energetic foundation is still wired to fear. The output is scrambled. The message is mixed, and the quantum field reflects that distortion right back. Energy doesn't lie. You can fake a smile, fake confidence, fake success, but your frequency tells the truth, and that truth is what the universe mirrors. If you want to influence your external world, you have to start by mastering your internal one. This means regulating your nervous system, mastering your breath, learning to choose your focus, and anchoring into the emotions that match the life you actually want to live. Not someday now, not if everything works out, regardless of how things look. When you learn to hold gratitude before there's a reason, clarity before you have proof, peace before the outcome, you become magnetic. Not because you're manipulating the system, but because you're finally speaking its language. You're no longer waiting for reality to change so you can feel better. You're choosing to feel better, so reality has no choice but to change. This isn't spiritual bypassing. It's frequency leadership, and it takes discipline. Your breath is a portal. Most people breathe unconsciously, shallow and tight. That keeps the body in survival mode. But when you control your breath, when you slow it, deepen it, rhythm it, you signal to your system that you're safe. And safety is the foundation of power. A regulated nervous system can hold higher frequencies. It can sustain clarity. It can create without collapsing under doubt. The more you master your breath, the more access you gain to the present moment, and the present moment is where all power lives. Focus is another tool, and one of the most misused. Where your attention goes, energy flows. But most people's focus is hijacked by apps, by fear, by comparison. Scattered focus scatters your field, and a scattered field sends mixed signals into the quantum. If you want precision results, you need precision energy. That means choosing what you focus on like your life depends on it, because energetically it does. And then there's emotion, the amplifier, the transmitter. The emotion you choose is the tone of your message to the field. Are you speaking in confidence or in scarcity, in courage or in doubt, in conviction or in desperation? The field doesn't judge, but it does match. It always matches, which means your job isn't to chase the outcome. It's to maintain the broadcast, to stay in the emotional state of the reality you're calling in long enough for the field to catch up. When you do this consistently, you don't have to force things. Reality begins to respond before you act. Ideas come faster. People show up at the perfect moment. Timelines collapse. Not because you're manipulating life, but because you're in harmony with it. You're not pushing, you're inviting. And the universe knows the difference. Every moment is a message. Every breath, every thought, every emotion is a line of code. And the field is always listening, not to what you say, but to what you are. If you want to speak to the quantum, stop yelling your desires into the void. Whisper them with your state, hold them with your breath, and feel them with such clarity that the universe has no choice but to answer back. There are multiple versions of your life already in existence. Not in theory, not in fantasy, but in reality, at the quantum level. Different timelines, different outcomes, all waiting to be chosen. And the key that unlocks them isn't time, effort, or luck. It's frequency. Your energetic state is the selector. It decides which version of you becomes real and which stay dormant in the field of possibility. You don't stumble into your destiny. You align with it. People talk about fate like it's fixed, like there's only one path and everything is predetermined. But that's just a comfortable illusion. The truth is harder to swallow and far more empowering. Every time you shift your internal state, you shift your trajectory. When you change your energy, you're not just changing how you feel, you're changing the version of reality that responds to you. It's not metaphorical, it's mechanical. You tune to a new signal, and the field begins arranging itself around that signal. The people, the opportunities, the setbacks, the synchronicities, all of it recalibrates based on what you're broadcasting. This is why identity work is so powerful, because who you believe you are is the foundation of your frequency. If you see yourself as a survivor, life keeps throwing things to survive. If you see yourself as always behind, life keeps showing you clocks. If you see yourself as an outsider, life continues to reflect a world where you don't belong. The shift happens the moment you stop seeing your current circumstances as proof of who you are and start treating them as a reflection of who you've been. The past created this frequency, but the future bends when you change it. The mistake most people make is waiting for confirmation before they shift their energy. They want the job offer before they feel secure, the relationship before they feel loved, the success before they feel worthy. But that's not how the field works. Reality doesn't give you a reason to feel. It gives you a mirror of what you feel consistently. So if you're waiting for permission to embody your next level, you'll wait forever. Timelines don't respond to hope. They respond to embodiment. There's a version of you that already has what you're asking for, not in some faraway dream, but in a timeline that's entangled with the version of you who's willing to live like it's already true. That's the paradox. You become before you receive. You live it before it shows up. You hold the vibration before the evidence appears. And the longer you can hold it, the more real it becomes. Every timeline has a frequency range. If your energy doesn't match that range, you can't access it. It's like trying to tune into a radio station without the right frequency. You get static, distortion, noise. You're technically in the vicinity, but you're not synced. So the music never plays. That's how most people live. Right next to what they want, but never quite inside it. Because they're close in thought, but not in energy. When people talk about quantum leaps, this is what they mean. Not skipping steps, but skipping identities. Choosing to live as the version of you who no longer doubts, who no longer hesitates, who no longer entertains timelines where your power is muted. It's not arrogance, it's energetic clarity. And that clarity becomes gravitational. Reality begins to conform. Things that once felt impossible become effortless. Not because they've changed, but because you have. You've already had moments like this. Times where you were in full alignment, when something just clicked, and your world rearranged itself in ways you couldn't have planned. That wasn't luck. That was a brief glimpse into a timeline that was always there, waiting for you to stay long enough to live inside it. The question is no longer, what do I want? The real question is, who do I need to become to experience it? And once you answer that, not with words, but with energy, you won't need to chase the timeline. You'll become the frequency that calls it in. You've been taught to look outside of yourself for the answer, for validation, for permission, for power. The system was built that way, on purpose. If you're always chasing the next guru, the next method, the next fix, you'll never notice that the source of transformation has been within you the entire time. But here's the truth. Most people will never tell you because they can't profit from it. You are the source, not the tool, not the technique. You. That means the quantum field doesn't respond to crystals, mantras, or vision boards. It responds to coherence, to clarity, to the version of you that knows exactly who you are and doesn't flinch. When you stop outsourcing your power and start recognizing that your energy is the engine, everything changes. You stop waiting for a sign and become the signal. You stop trying to attract and start aligning. That's the moment you leave behind the illusion that you're small, limited, or waiting for life to choose you. You were never here to be chosen. You were here to choose. There's something profound that happens when you fully embody this. Your energy shifts, yes, but so does your posture, your presence, your decisions. You stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who am I becoming? You stop moving from desperation and start moving from inner authority. You stop reacting to circumstances and begin responding to your own alignment. And people feel it. Reality feels it. The field adjusts. This isn't about ego or blind confidence. It's about resonance. When you own your energy, you move differently. Not because you're pretending to be powerful, but because you remember that you always were. And in that remembering, you stop leaking energy into doubt, comparison, and waiting. You stop needing validation because you become your own evidence. Every time you ignore your intuition to fit in, every time you shrink to keep the peace, every time you betray what you know for the comfort of what's familiar, you dim your frequency. And over time, you forget how powerful your signal once was. But that power never left. It just went dormant, buried under years of fear, programming, and distraction. And now, it's rising. You don't need another blueprint. You need to reclaim your own. You don't need another step-by-step system. You need to step into the version of yourself that trusts. The next step will reveal itself the moment you're aligned. That's how the field works. It doesn't give you the full map. It gives you the next breadcrumb. But only when your energy matches the version of you who's ready to walk that path. This is why rituals, teachings, and philosophies can only take you so far. They're useful tools, but they're not the source. You are. Your breath is the doorway. Your state is the message. Your focus is the lever. You are not here to be a follower of ideas. You are here to become the embodiment of truth. And the truth is this: your reality is waiting on you, not the other way around. You were never meant to be a passive observer of change. You were meant to be the cause of it, not from force, not from control, but from embodied alignment. That's what mastery really is. Not perfection, but presence. The ability to stay grounded in who you are, no matter what life throws at you. To respond from your center, not your wounds. To lead your energy before the world gives you a reason. And once you fully step into that, the game changes. You stop playing by their rules because you remember the field doesn't care about their rules. It cares about your frequency. And when that frequency says, "I remember who I am," everything around you starts to remember too. There's a moment where all the concepts stop being theory, a moment where you're no longer collecting information but stepping into application. That's the threshold where real transformation lives. You've seen the patterns, you've felt the energy, you understand that reality isn't fixed, it's fluid, that every day, with every breath, you're either reinforcing an old frequency or choosing a new one. And now, the choice is yours, not intellectually, energetically. This is where most people hesitate. They wait for certainty. They wait for someone else to confirm they're ready. But that confirmation never comes, because the only one who can validate your alignment is you. You've spent your life being taught that action creates results, but what you're learning now is deeper. State creates outcomes, and when your state changes, the field has no choice but to mirror it. The rules don't bend because you've learned them. They bend because you've become someone new. You don't need to try to create anymore. You simply need to live like the reality you desire is already listening, because it is. Every action, every thought, every emotional response is either affirming your old timeline or anchoring a new one. This isn't pressure, it's precision. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be aligned. And aligned doesn't mean high vibes all day. It means honest. It means regulated. It means sovereign. It means knowing what energy you're holding and choosing to direct it instead of letting it drift. The question is, are you ready to live from that space consistently? Not when it's convenient, not just in meditation, but in traffic, in conversations, in decisions, when the bills are due, when the future feels uncertain. Can you still hold the signal? Can you hold the frequency of clarity when the old pattern tries to pull you back into confusion? Because that's where the shift becomes real, not in comfort, but in contrast. You are not here to negotiate with your past. You are here to author your future, not by controlling outcomes, but by commanding energy. And that command isn't loud. It's not forceful. It's calm. It's clear. It's unwavering. The kind of presence that doesn't need to chase anything, because it knows the field is already responding. So what does it look like to live this way? It looks like owning your energy first, before anyone else defines it for you. It looks like creating space for coherence in a noisy world. It looks like choosing intention over impulse, clarity over chaos, embodiment over performance. It means walking into every room, every opportunity, every unknown moment, as if you already belong, because the version of you who holds that frequency does. If you're serious about mastering this, don't leave empty-handed. Sign up to Insights Academy through the link below. You'll unlock more knowledge we can't share here and get the Kai Balian ebook free. You'll understand why later. Because here's what no one tells you. Awakening isn't a finish line, it's a frequency. One you return to, choose again, embody deeper. And every time you do, reality softens. It opens. It rearranges around your clarity like iron filings to a magnet. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered who you are. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about shedding everything that isn't you. The doubts, the fears, the programs, the noise. All the interference that kept you from hearing your own signal. You're not building power, you're uncovering it. And when you live from that power, your life will never be the same again. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."